Good evening and welcome to the June 12th, 2023 Finance and Facilities Committee meeting of the School District of Haverford Township. This meeting is being recorded for later viewing, but thank you to those of you who've joined us here at Oakmont. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now Mr. Cochran, our interim business manager, will walk us through the several items on the agenda.
Thank you, and good evening. We have 4 items on the agenda. We're going to go a little out of order of what they are appearing. J.R. Guglielmi. J.R.
Yeah, don't even look
is
at it.
detained. We're hoping he can join us to present the summer projects update. So we're going to start with the 23-24 final general fund budget status report. So, okay. It was just this. Not much has changed from when we last looked at this on May 12th. On May 12th, we looked at the details of it, and then not May 12th, May 11th, the board approved the proposed final budget. Minor adjustments have been made based on more updated information that has been received. Not a lot of significant adjustment. As a matter of fact, if you compared our percentages in our revenue pieces of the pie, you will see that they are within a point or two, a basis point or two of where they were earlier. Our total revenues are $146,106,457 under this picture, and again, we're looking at 75% of those are generated directly from the real estate tax. Another 19.25% is generated from state subsidies and state reimbursements, with little less than 5% coming as other local revenue. That is transfer taxes, interim taxes, delinquent taxes, interest, items of that nature. And then finally, just shy of 0.9% as federal grants. On the revenue or the expenditure side, again, we look at the expenditures in 2 aspects. One is by function, which is the educational purpose for which it is spent. The largest component of that is the instructional component. This is our regular education, special education, vocational education, our support of adult education at the Delaware County Community College. All of that is included under instruction, the direct instruction. And that is just shy of 59%. You can see it's 58.75%, with the next largest piece being support services. Support services includes administrative offices such as the superintendent's and business office and the principal's offices. It also includes our maintenance of facilities, our transportation services, but it includes some services that are direct to the students. We have guidance services in there. You have your library services in there. You have psychological services, social work. All of that is also included under the support services, the nursing services. So it is support services, but a large portion of it, from principals' offices to nurses, goes directly to serve the students of the district. The next largest component, again, is debt service. This has not changed much. We're still at 9.6% of the total budget. We have non-instructional services. That specifically is your athletics and activities services and what is provided to our students in those categories, and that's at 1.2%. We have 1.5% being transferred, and we'll talk about that in a moment, but we've talked about it in the past as well. This is capital related. And then the final is budgetary reserve, 0.54. That allows for what accountants don't like. mistakes, but they happen. We don't have as accurate information as we want, or whatever the case may be. Budgetary reserve are for the things that may have been missed or forgotten, or come up later in the year that we had no idea they would be there. Total expenditures is $148,326,622, so significantly above the revenues, but that's where the transfer comes in. The other way that we look at our expenditures is by object. This is the nature of the spending, that is, what did we spend it on as far as specific types of services. So 46.25% is for salaries and wages, directly paying the staff. Another 26.75% is specifically for the benefits for those staff. So pushing 75% of the budget again. Purchase services such as outside consultants, outside professional services for student assistance, intermediate unit services that we use. That is all under the purchase services, 11.66%, just shy of 12. Supplies and equipment, which also includes your utilities and your fuels for the buses. It includes the supplies for the classroom, the supplies for the tech department, the supplies for the custodial maintenance services, is 3.6. Principal and interest and fees, the fees are a component for memberships. You can see here we're looking at a 9.63. On the previous page, we were looking at debt service being 9.54. So we add an extra 0.09 for those fees. The bulk of that category is the principal and interest for the debt service. Again, we see transfers of 1.5 and the budgetary reserve of just over 0.5%. So we're looking at operating revenues of $146,106,457. This is an increase over last year of 5.78%. We're looking at operating expenditures and the budgetary reserve in the exact same amount. I've eliminated or backed out the transfer so we can look at it separately. So to operate the district, this budget is a balanced budget. The fund transfers out are taking $2,220,166 of the surplus that we saw from 21-22 and applying it to capital projects that JR will discuss, or I will pinch hit for. Applying that to capital projects, most of which are shown in there. There are some that are not a part of that analysis. So we would have an ending deficit of $2,220,166. This year, the Act 1 index is 4.1%. This budget increase is 2.72%. So well within the Act 1 index. The current millage in 22-23 is 17.6880. We are looking at a millage in 23-24 of 18.1684. Again, 2.72 increase to the average assessed value of $366,000 some odd dollars. That's $176 year over year as the average tax increase. As we look at our fund balance, beginning committed fund balance is estimated at $14.6 million. Unassigned is 11.49 for a total of $25,000,007. Taking that $2,220,166 that we're transferring to the capital projects fund out leaves us with an estimated ending fund balance of $23,489,107. Splitting that between committed fund balance, and again, committed for capital projects, and unassigned fund balance, we have $11,623,000 for the committed, $11,866,107 for the unassigned. That is 7.99% of the expenditures. And that is within the state's guidelines when you look at the PDE 2028 form, you will see that there is actually a document there that requires the superintendent's signature to verify that the district is in compliance, that our ending unassigned fund balance has not exceeded 8%, and we are in compliance with that. So looking historically, again, Act 1 index has bobbed between a 2.3 now up to a 4.1 over the past 7 years. Looking at the district's increases, you can see that we were at or in 1 year above, obviously using exceptions to that Act 1 index. 21, 22, because of the reassessment, there's no calculation of what our millage rate changed because it actually dropped significantly with the reassessment. But since then, we have seen a 295, which is below the index, and then this year a 272, again, even further below the index. Looking again just at the actual instructional expense per average daily membership, we are in the 13,900 range back in 17-18. It dipped down slightly in 18-19, but has come back up, and we are looking at 23-24 being approximately $15,000 per student, which is right in the middle of the pack with where the Commonwealth is. We are not a high spender, we are not a low spender. As we look at the tasks ahead of us, we have accomplished quite a few. Some of these tasks after our May 11th board meeting where you approved the proposed final budget, the very next day we had the publication of the legal advertisement sent, and I believe it actually appeared on Monday, May 15th. The public inspection copy was posted to the board or to the website on the main page, actually on May 12th. So it was ready to go and available for everybody in the public that wanted to see it. We did get the updated assessment values from Delaware County Assessment Office, and they are currently with our vendor who prepares and mails and processes our bills to go out and ready to go out on June 30th. Tonight is further discussion and analysis of this budget, and then on Thursday we will have the final budget in this format for your approval. Included under the administrative section of the agenda, the board members will find the proposed language for the resolution to adopt this budget and to approve the millage for the 23-24 fiscal year. You will also find the proposed resolution to authorize the homestead, farmstead reduction for qualifying taxpayers, as well as a two-page calculation of how that amount is calculated in the current year. That is available for you in the administrative section. And with that, we got rid of the tree that drops a book. Are there any questions from the board?
I have a couple. One is, can you explain how the district is able to have a balanced budget or, present a balanced budget that has a 5.78% increase in revenues when our taxes increase is only 2.72?
Yes, there were, the state revenue that is included in this budget is the revenue that was proposed by the governor. And at this time, no alternative proposals have been floated with any viability in Harrisburg. That amount included a significant increase over the 23-20 or 22-23 year. I will trip over my years, I know I will. It includes a significant increase in both the basic education funding and the special education funding. The basic ed is in excess of $1 million. Additionally, in the prior year, the basic education amount that was budgeted was the actual for 21-22. not the proposed for 22-23. So there was also a significant increase in that year. So this budget recognizes both of those.
That
And
Pennsylvania is contributing more to
Correct.
public schools. Okay.
correct. And it's the same with the special education. So they're both recognized in this budget. If the state comes out with a shortfall or comes out with a lower amount, at that point, you evaluate the spending that is approved and decide, what are we not going to do? And you move forward.
Okay, yeah, so several $1 million from the state picks up a couple percentage
A
difference.
couple of $1 million from the state, probably pushing 3 when you add special ed and basic ed.
Basic.
Yes.
Okay, I'm looking over your shoulder at Larry Feinberg to see if he has any sense of what's coming out of Harrisburg.
The last I heard, the House has passed a budget that's significantly higher than what the governor proposed, and the GOP House members and the Senate have already pushed back on that, so it remains to be seen where it's going to end up. And the latest news I saw today, they seem to be saying that they may not hit June 30th as the final date, but they're not advising people not they're not advising anyone to cancel their vacations yet, so.
Okay. And our time frame remains as posted, right?
Correct.
Regardless
I
of
was
the-
just gonna say, if I was a betting man, without having heard that last comment, they will not make June 30th. I have seen it many, many times over the years, that they do not. But we still have to have ours in by June 30th. And if you will, a horror story from back in the 1990s, there was actually a situation where a higher amount had been proposed and it was uncertain whether it would happen. So school districts did exactly what was done here last year and what many others are still doing this year, and they do not budget that estimated increase that they hear from Harrisburg. They budget the lower amount. But what happened one year in the 1990s was, a month and a half after June 30th, the state finally came through, and they came through with the higher amount. But they forced any school district that did not include that amount in their original budget to refund the difference between what they budgeted for state revenue and what they received, and refund it the next year to taxpayers. And make certain that the bill stated on it that you're getting this reduction in your millage thanks to the state legislature. So I've seen some nightmares. Mr. JR, thank you.
JR, your shoes look wet. Why?
But your shoulders look looser. Did you get a little bit of a jolt? About 120 volt? Good.
We
Yeah.
we started with the budget, so allowing you time to arrive, so.
I have a question too, actually. I'm just curious, and I'm sure, obviously, this year is not going to have an impact, but the ruling about the funding about the fair funding allocation. Do we and Larry, I guess, is partially to you as well. When I mean, how much time do we think that might take its way to worm through the courts? Are we talking years or?
Worm.
Yeah, it could be a while, Dave, is
Okay.
the short answer. The language coming out of the governor's office is that the increases in education funding are something that will occur over the next few years.
Okay.
And I think we'll probably see that in the budgets. You know, if the House budget coming out above the governor's is probably a good thing, negotiations-wise. It might facilitate the governor getting what he asked for, and who knows, maybe a little bounce, but just because that lawsuit was decided favorably for the school districts, doesn't mean there's gonna be any real
I
significant.
know there are appeals and
jump.
everything else going on. I just didn't know if any, I mean, and nobody knows what the impact is gonna be, it seems like, but I just didn't know if there's any kind of estimation of like how long it's gonna take to get resolved, because it's,
Yeah, you know, one of the things that's been successful the last couple of years was an extra budget line called Level Up that allocated tens of millions of dollars extra to the 100 districts that have the lowest funding. And that wasn't included in the governor's budget. His acting secretary of education did a real nice dance when he was asked about it. But basically, the level up funding that's already in the system will remain, but the governor did not propose any new level up funding. I think Representative Cerisi from Montgomery County has a bill that does just that for probably $200 or $300 million. So we'll see where it goes.
all right, thanks.
And all of that explanation of the state contributing more, still look at the revenue pie chart, and they are just over 19%. It is not like it dramatically changes the way that our district is funded. We still are very reliant on our local tax base. It's incrementally better than the 18% or so that it was in prior years.
Included in those subsidies are the basic ed and the special ed. That includes your transportation subsidy, debt reimbursement. That includes the homestead, farmstead allocation from the gaming funds. That includes 50% of Social Security that we pay, 50% of retirement that we contribute. So a lot of things are included in that are not necessarily direct education related as special ed and basic ed are.
And if I might, when you look at that 19%, there are many districts in the state that are the mirror image.
Right.
And basically, you know, southeastern Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh and its suburbs, a little bit of Lehigh Valley are the ones that contribute the most to the state budget. But the districts that get the most in the basic ed subsidies and the special ed subsidies tend to be all the other districts in the state.
Yes.
I was also going to make a comment when you mentioned the budgetary reserve as being for mistakes. I was like, oh, I don't think we have to say it quite like that. You know, the board and the public recall our project financing that we did that has a contingency in it. And for a facility project, contingency could be 3%, 5%, or more, given the complexity and uncertainty of a project. And so those funds are when change orders comes up, and then we have the allocation in our budget kind of set aside for that just in case. So putting that in comparison to a budgetary reserve in our operating budget of about 0.5%.
It's very low.
Yeah, you put
Yes.
that in that context to show, right, that maybe it's a reflection that there's just less uncertainty with the year in, year out operations, or just, you know, and the careful budgeting, but just wanted to highlight that is an appropriate and prudent budgeting process and is not a big
No, it is
number.
If I'm not mistaken, whatever is kind of left over in the budgetary reserve, if it's not used, goes into, I believe, our
Fund balance.
Yeah, fund balance.
Yes.
Which, for example, this year, we're taking some out of it to
Yes.
do some projects that have been, to keep things in state of repair. So it's not,
And when I use
it's
the
not by
term
errors.
mistake, it's tongue-in-cheek and
Right.
self-deprecating.
Of course.
No reflection on the board.
Right, just wanted to characterize it a different
Yes.
way. And yeah, just to say that, for me, the takeaways are, you know, the increased investment in the operations of our budget, of our district, with the growing enrollment and being able to be under the Act 1 index in these inflationary times.
At the level that we're under.
At the level, I mean, significantly under, and, you know, what the state and other sources will give to support our schools, but then also having the transfer of our surplus, not just kind of sitting on a,
Right.
a piggy bank of funds, but to be thinking about how to use those dollars in the near term to invest in our significant infrastructure and the upkeep of our 7 school buildings and other properties. So I think this budget does a nice job touching on all of those priorities and needs.
If I could, one other thing, I think at graduation, it was a very concrete example of how our enrollment has increased. I mean, I've never recall over 500 students graduating. And so that certainly has an impact on our budgeting. And my understanding is that we have a cohort somewhere in the system that's significantly higher
Higher than that,
than
yes.
510.
At the 8th grade awards, did they say 550 8th graders
Yes,
or something?
there
Yeah.
was, yeah, it was a little over 550 coming in as freshmen.
They're
Well,
coming.
and if you look at the budget, we talked very early on about additional positions at the high school,
high school.
and it is that cohort that is driving it.
Yeah. And that's why we did the 2 additions at the high school, because we knew this was coming, so.
My 14-year-olds among them. They're coming.
Any other questions? Okay, and we are going to go back. Let's see what happens. There we go. And we will do item A. JR, would you like to give us an update on what JR will address? And there is a PDF with the data attached for the board members, is the update on the 2023 summer projects and where all of that work stands. And then we've asked JR to put together, looking forward, 4 additional years for a total of a 5-year plan, plus a few things that might be way out there in the future, to begin that conversation, to begin that discussion, if you will. The board members have this in a PDF, JR, so they can see 3 years at a time. You've got a lot up there and a lot going on, and why don't we dispense with 22 and just focus on 23 and what you're doing right now and what's been ordered, et
That's great,
cetera?
Chris.
I'm gonna finish the just real quick on the 22.
Sure,
All right.
sure.
Everything's completed on the 20, well, thank you for having me. On a beautiful night.
Yeah.
22, everything's completed. The only thing we're still waiting on is the generator and the electrical panels at the M&T building, the electrical upgrade we did with the parking lot. The generator's supposed to be coming in August 23rd now. It's supposed to be here June 20th. It got pushed to August 23rd. So that's the only project that's still sitting out. Everything else is completed. So moving forward, we went on the, glad I brought this. My eyes aren't that good anymore. I printed it all out so I can see it better.
You will have 4 legal-size sheets if you choose to print this out
Yeah,
yourselves.
if you do.
board members.
So to me, it's easier just to look on a piece of paper. It's old school. To 23, we went over all the projects. All the projects are already quoted, set up to start June 20th. The concrete, the controls upgrade, the stair treads, everything on this list is out to, it's ready to go. All the contractors are picked, selected, pricings are in. The only thing I'm waiting on for is the 3 prices for the dishwashers. We're still trying to get Singer and Hobart to get together to get us the prices, the one at very at the bottom. So the total price went up a little bit. It's $1.77 million. So it'll be a very interesting summer. We'll get a lot done, and it'll be good. So moving forward, what I did on the 24, 25, 26, and 27, like Bob said, I took the facility study that Crabtree did, things that I know that I want to continue doing, and I kind of spread it out. I wouldn't worry about the bottom numbers because there's no way. Bob told me we can do the bottom numbers on each year, but we wanted to get it up and get it as a working document. Is how we want to do it so nothing falls off. And every year, we can just, pretty much pick and choose what we think is what we want to do and what kind of capital reserve we have to play with and go from there. Some of them, all of them red are from the facility study, and the ones in black, they'll either say their insurance or there'll be principal request, stuff like that they would like to do to their buildings. I also put in here, I put in food service to put them X amount of dollars for their kitchen equipment, because some of the kitchen equipment is getting old. So just a placement. Not saying we're going to use it, or we could, you know what I mean, depending on what is needed in the kitchen. I also put the stadium in, made a stadium line in there because the stadium lights need to be done. I'm on a ballpark this, you probably, Larry, know better than I do. The stadium's probably at least 12 years. Rob, maybe you can help me. I know it's, the lights, about 12. Yeah, so I don't even know how old the lights are, so that's something we got to put in there to, the lights are going to need to be replaced. And when you replace them, you do them all in one shot. You don't do one bulb at a time. It's just economically too expensive. And plus with the new lighting systems, the all LEDs, that's what all the stadiums are going to. So I wanted to get them in. The turf replacement, that was replaced my first year. So that's 7 years old. So I put that out. So we got to make sure we look at the turf going down the road in the next 4 or 5 years. The turf's going to have to be replaced. Then I put all the energy efficiency stuff, boiler replacements, chillers, all that kind of stuff. And the only thing I was talking to Bob about is when we look at this stuff, we might have to go earlier than normal. Like we always meet in, like March, April, and we go over all this. On some of these items, we might have to talk about it in September or October, August, September, October, because as the generator is over a year waiting to come in, boilers and chillers could be the same way. So it's something we might have to talk about early so that we can get POs cut by January, so we can get everything ordered, or even earlier, so we can get the stuff done over the summer. But if you take a minute and take a look at everything, I think I got pretty much everything. I also put on here not the M&T building. I think I put it down. I thought I had it in here. I might have missed it, Bob.
You do, you have it.
I probably have it on there, but not on here. I
You
put
have it
the,
under 2024 for discussion.
yeah, I put the Haverford Road,
Garage and Haverford Road Garage.
and the garage at Manoa. I don't know if you guys ever seen them. That's a discussion, is all I can say on that one. That's something we got to sit down and actually discuss on how you want to handle the property on Haverford Road and the garage that's on Manoa's property that is used by the grounds for grounds guys. We have a lot of expensive equipment we buy, and the buildings are in need of repair. So that's something, down the line we're going to have to talk about. Do you have any questions on this? Like I said, it's pretty much pushed all the way out, and then I put a future column, so it's things, if we don't, you don't do everything, we'll just move them. And over the years, we won't lose it. Yeah.
I was looking for big ticket items, and I see, most of the roofs are in here somewhere on the
Yep,
schedule.
the roof's on.
Where are we with paving district-wide? Are we in pretty good shape?
Paving, we're in really good shape. It's probably something I should put in, because if you noticed, I put painting in. Starting the summer of '24, I have painting on the list as part of it, like we do concrete.
Right.
Now we need to start doing some painting. And I mean, real painting. Like we do some painting through the summer. We don't, but I mean, bring a crew in, take it out to a contract, do painting. Our parking lots are in pretty good shape. I do have Oakmont on this list. Oakmont parking lot needs to be
24.
redone. Maybe expand it a little bit in the back or maybe in the front. But paving overall, we've been seal coating, which is helping our buildings. Oakmont was done I think my first year here, I think that was getting done. Not Oakmont, Coopertown, sorry. Linwood's brand new. The other buildings are all in good shape, and we're seal coating them, and crack and fill, so they're all in pretty good shape. But it's something, yeah, I probably should get it in on this list. It's a good idea, and start looking at, paving projects down the line, maybe 3-4 years, like the middle school probably could use it. The high school's in good shape. Most of the parking lots are in really good shape. Manoa's in good shape. So,
When I see the chillers and the boilers, so that kind of stuff is all in the mix, and this is great to have this kind of a
Yeah.
forecast.
well, I figured the Chesalwell's the oldest building. I think that was first, it was before Manoa, right? It was Chesalwell Middle School, Manoa, or somewhere around there. I know Chesalwell was built, middle school was renovated, or Manoa was built, then the middle school. So they're all getting old. They're all hitting their life, so that's why we got them on here, and they're all big ticket items. But this could all change depending on if, who knows down the line what we do to other buildings. So if we decide to do some sort of renovation to a building, a lot of this stuff can get put into that. So it'll come off of here and go into a, construction budget.
I had a question also about so you mentioned that the Manoa and Haverford Road garages currently are used to store equipment?
Everything.
Because one of the options here is demo buildings. So I'm wondering, does that mean like a demo and rebuild, or would it be demo and?
Crabtree would like to demo the Manoa one and rebuild.
Okay.
The Haverford Road, why I says is a discussion is we warehouse a lot of stuff, and all our supplies are stuffed in there. We have 3 or 4 storage containers down at the M&T property that we store for the district, chairs, desks. So that's what I mean. It might be the discussion that I don't know what you can do to the building to make it bigger or do something, because we are running out of storage space for stuff. That's why we rent storage units, and we have them down at the shop, and we have chairs, desks, because the schools have no storage.
How tall is the one right now on Haverford Road, if you remember? I mean, if you know, like ballpark. Is it
How
one
tall is
story?
it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's like almost a 2-story, but it's really no second floor to it. Story and a half.
Just
It's right
wondering,
next to,
By the dance studio.
right next to DMI, and then there's like an old 7-Eleven, it's a dance studio. It's right there.
Just, I'm just thinking like if there's a way of building a little bit farther up. I don't know what the zoning is like there, but.
I don't know. There's probably an architect has great ideas that you can either make it bigger or do, I don't know. It's hard
Depends on
for,
schools,
I mean, it's hard for our deliveries. We bring semis in there to unload. I mean, we go through a lot of custodial supplies. We bring a semi in there. I mean, you got to think about how much paper towels and toilet paper and
Yeah, sure, yeah.
for, what would it be, 7,000 kids? And then another 1,000 employees?
About mine is like, you need more storage space.
We need more
That's what I'm
storage
saying.
space.
Okay.
I hate to say it.
No, that's good to know.
But it's something we need to look at, plus like all the equipment we have for the whole district, all our tractors, zero turns, plows, you name it. All our supplies that all the mechanics have, they're all stored up there or stored down as much as we can store down in our shop. That's why I meant it's a discussion. It's something we need to look at, and like I said, Haverford Road, it needs work. Manoa, it's in bad shape. It's like a just big garage.
I've driven past them, and yeah, it does look
Yeah.
like they've been there for a while, so.
I mean,
Kind of.
when we have a discussion, I have my suggestions, but for right now, I don't think it's, time.
That's fine,
You know what I mean?
I'm just curious, just trying to get prepped for it, so, okay.
Yeah, but I just, like I said, I put this on there just so we don't lose it. I got generators on here. I got everything on this list, for energy efficiency and everything, so.
That's good, that's really the purpose of it.
Yeah.
To look at and see what can we do,
Yeah,
Yeah.
sometime upcoming in the school year, we'll be looking at what can we do in the summer of '24.
Mhm.
Narrow that down, what are the priorities, and some things will have to shift to
Yes.
another year, and
yeah,
some will remain as priorities. But
Yeah.
you have captured all of the needs as of this time.
yes,
As JR and I discussed putting this together, the intent was for this to be a living document, that it is to enhance and document the discussions as we go. And as time passes, things that you thought you were going to do in '25, you may say, we need to do that in '24, or we can push that back a couple of years. You know, we had perhaps somebody will come in and evaluate the turf for you and say, really, you've got another 2 good years out of it, you can wait a couple of years, or they may want you to speed that up and do it sooner based on the condition of it. So this at least gets it out in front of you. It becomes a living document that will change and allow you and guide you through that discourse and discussion, not only among yourselves as the board, but with the public and with the school community who are using the facilities.
Right. And some of these are big ticket items, like if this year it's under 2 million, the kind of wish list all in is like $6 to $8 million a year. So it's some
Right.
big things, but I'm aware that some of these are items that have long life and we're just at the end of it. If it's a roof, it's probably been 20 years almost since that was done. Same with some of the boilers and HVAC equipment. I was curious about the generators. Are those things that we have and are old and need to be replaced, or would that be a new backup system that we don't? currently have?
They're old and have seen their time and need to be replaced.
Okay.
And then, once again, there's another discussion. Do you just want life safety? Or do you want how like this building is, when this building goes down, the generators run the whole building? So that's a discussion right there too, what you want.
Most of the generators are just hooked up to provide for emergency egress,
Yeah,
but not to sustain the building in the middle of winter, to circulate heat pumps or items of that, to allow for emergency phone calls or use of communications. So that's a discussion that JR has a passion for, to get them hooked up to be full building sustaining.
kind of like how we're doing the M&T building. When the power goes out, we can run. We won't miss a beat.
So if
So
you
like I
have an
said, that's,
isolated power outage,
or, yeah, power.
the
outage.
district still runs.
Yep.
So you mentioned that there's lead time for a lot of these, like months and months and months of.
Well, they're saying right now, I actually met with Johnson Controls today to finalize the Chestnut Wall project, some of the other projects they're doing. They're saying it's 40 weeks for a chiller. So
So they're going to be for the summer of 2024. We'll have to start discussing them probably in the fall of
Yes.
this year.
September, that's why I keep saying August, September, October, we need to discuss that if we do chillers.
Okay. Good deal.
So the supply chain issues, are they in software weeks, or are they, or what's our experience been?
Everything I'm finding out, we still have the supply chain issues. Everything is taking weeks and weeks, months to get. I can't explain it.
So yeah, one of the
What do you think
things
about
that
that?
you alluded to was that these are kind of line item one, let's put this thing on, let's put this thing on. But if, as part of our facility feasibility and looking at space needs, this isn't addressing that, but we
This
have,
isn't-
right?
yeah,
So
th-
if we were to undertake a project that got rid of the modular classrooms at then we would be embedding some of these improvements in that
Yes.
larger
Into
project.
that
Yeah,
building.
and it will
Yeah.
come out of here.
So
Yes.
that sounds like something we also need to be, not just be thinking of these summer projects and plugging in, but to think of that broader strategy to make sure we sequence the things and get
Yeah,
them in. the
like,
right order.
that's, what's not on here is what, my maintenance shop, my guys are doing, is we are increasing room sizes over at like Coopertown and Chatham Park, splitting rooms. Manoa, I sent you the list, Dr. Rushi. We are making other spaces available for the teachers at Manoa to use. And we're splitting classrooms at Coopertown and Chatham Park for the school needs.
Okay,
But we're not making the building bigger.
right.
Yes.
Not changing that footprint.
No, we're not changing that footprint, but you're correct. If you decide to go to a building and get rid of the modulars and you're gonna do something, a lot of this stuff will go right into it.
Okay.
And that's all I have, really. I guess, it's enough. There's a lot. I guess the end of summer, I'll come back and tell you it's all done, and hopefully we don't have any supply issues and everything will get done. And like I said, if you can, we can make some time at the end of the summer, it would be worthwhile to discuss some of these long-term items.
Good idea.
And then we look forward to your slideshow.
The live
All of
slideshow.
the-
Photo montage.
Yep, we'll get all the pictures so everybody can ever see. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Do you have anything else? We all good?
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem, thank you. And I'm sorry I was late.
Sorry.
If you need to continue what you were addressing earlier, go ahead.
No, actually, we took care of
Okay,
the high school, and we had a little issue at the middle school, and we took care of that.
okay, thank you.
The next agenda item is an update on potential solar installation and consulting opportunity. Dr. Rushi made me aware mid-last week of the opportunity to use Philadelphia Solar Energy Associates under a free opportunity with the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection to provide consulting to us. And then I saw emails from Dr. McKay and from Mr. Schwartz that followed addressing the same issue. So fortunately, we were already on top of that. I'm glad to say. And I did have, both JR and I met with Liz Robinson of the Philadelphia Solar Energy Associates today at 1 o'clock on Zoom to start that consulting service. The energy grants that are out there, the 30%, there are a lot of the guidelines that are still not finalized. One of them is the direct payment. How does the IRS give us our 30% check? That has not been finalized. They're still working on that. There are other opportunities within that grant to expand it beyond the 30%, but most of those do not appear to be something that this district would qualify for. There is a low income 10% add-on. There's an energy community, which is a community that has had fossil fuel extraction or production taking place. I don't think there was any fracking going on near us remotely. Brownfields, things of that nature. There is a Made in America, that a certain percent of components, if they're made in America, you can get additional. That may qualify if the providers are able to access those materials that meet that qualification. So they are looking at the extension for the consulting actually goes through September 30th. That was just made, and she has put us in touch with her finance and technical experts, and we will send to all three of them the documents that are included in the Crabtree feasibility study that show layouts on roofs and wattages, et cetera, and ask them to take that the next step and put all of that together. So we will send her our list of schools, all of that data. There is another grant out there. It's a Renew America grant that she spoke of. It is mainly focused at energy efficiency relative to electric vehicles, EVs. So what she was touting is if you can get an EV station installed for your buses and get EV buses. I shared with her that the district has a significant investment already in alternative fuel, propane, and it has been extremely effective for the district, very effective, and is probably one of the leading examples in the Commonwealth. So you can get some money under this Renew America grant if you put in stations that would fuel employees' cars or visitors' cars. It's the idea of electronic vehicles or electric vehicles are going to become more pervasive, and there will be more of them out there. It's kind of if you build it, they will come. I think they're coming anyhow. So that is an opportunity that we can explore as a district as well, are there places that such a canopy that would charge electric vehicles of visitors or employees work, and how would we go through that process? Is there any means of for us to charge to help recoup some of that capital that we put in as well, et cetera.
I'm sorry, is that grant to install charging station, or is that a grant to get, if you install charging stations? Just,
If you install.
okay.
They want you to put the canopies and the charging station in, and that is what the grant is for, as I understand.
Oh, so the grant, okay, so that's what I'm saying. So the grant pays for the charging stations, like, or,
Some portion thereof.
yeah, not
Yes,
the whole
yes.
thing, but yeah, like a dollar for
She
dollar
did
or
not have a
something.
lot of details on it. She alluded to it, and I told her that the buses was very unlikely, but that, we could discuss and look at the possibility of 4 automobiles for personal autos.
Okay.
So, but we are going to proceed with this and get that information to her and to her colleagues. And as we get feedback from her and information, we will share it with the board and keep everybody up to date. So,
Is there any indication of how, I mean, obviously, you don't know how the mechanism yet will be for the IRS to, cut us a check, more or less. But I'm wondering, is this, I mean, and maybe we don't know yet, is this done on a per project basis? Is it like a competitive bidding system? Do we have any kind of inkling what that is, or not?
the only thing she said was on the competitive bidding had to do with the low income
Okay.
portion of it, and that if we were going to seek that we needed to get things in by September. And I told her that
Right.
that was very unlikely here. We get some title money, but it's very little compared to what other districts would get for low income.
Are you hearing anything? I know Representative Fiedler had introduced legislation that would provide grants for solar installation in public schools, up to 50% of the cost of project constructions. I don't know if it's going anyplace in the legislature. Are you hearing anything?
She did not mention that. I'm familiar with having heard the reports on that one. She did not mention anything. She said that what this is the federal grant, and what the DEP is supplementing to that.
Okay.
So, and a lot of, as I said, a lot of the guidelines and regulations have not been written yet. So we don't know how the IRS is gonna give the checks, if it's gonna be total project or components, or how they're gonna do that, nor any other kick-in from the Commonwealth.
Okay, because these news articles are from a week ago at the Capitol, so she's
I will-
pushing it, but we'll see if it
I
turns
will
into anything.
Materialize.
Throw that out to them and ask them to
Because
comment on it.
50%'s a big number. and
Yeah.
That is,
Yeah.
that's huge.
Federal program, it sounds like, it's possible that we could,
Combination of some
Yeah.
things.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic.
And it's
So-
good to have established the connection
Yes.
with this individual now, who might be able to help us with it.
Mhm.
And so it sounds like that consultancy opportunity lasts for a couple more months, so,
It lasts until the money runs out, or September 30th, whichever comes first.
okay.
Is the money starting,
Take opportunity we're gonna take the best opportunity of it now.
okay. So the money's not being spent yet, though. In other words, we're not, we're in the pipeline, if you will. We're not gonna be, okay, that was
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
I thought
I
that-
asked her, are there documents we need to have our board approve? Is there anything you need signed? She said, no, this phone call is it. You're in the
okay.
pipe.
You're on the list.
You're on the list.
Okay,
Awesome, all right.
thanks for making that.
Okay?
Thank you.
So, the last item is, and Chris, can you put item D up there? Just so we have it for reference. Is just to give you a heads up on the things that you will see on the board agenda for this Thursday for school board approval. We have a number of items. The first one is the first item we went over, and that is the 23-24 general fund budget, millage rate, and homestead exclusion. So you will have a couple of resolutions relative to that.
Could you just give a little bit on what the homestead exclusion is, so if people are listening and curious?
Yes, yes. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, a number of years back, I don't remember how many years back, implemented a system where with the entrance of gambling and casinos and legalized gambling in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, a certain amount of that revenue was to be distributed to school districts. And the purpose of that was to assist school districts in reducing their millage and their tax rates to homestead and farmstead qualified residents. A homestead is an owner-occupied residence. You own it, you live in it for the year. A farmstead is an operating farm, can have the home, has the home on it, and has 10 or more acres and is a functioning farm. So actually, if you have a homestead and a farmstead, there are no farms in Delaware County, the county assessment office tells me. If you have a homestead and farmstead, you could technically get a double reduction. The way the reduction is calculated is all eligible properties are listed. The reduction cannot exceed the median value, assessed value of the eligible properties. There's never enough money to do that, I can assure you. And school districts fund it with this subsidy from the Commonwealth. They can also fund it, they were also able to fund it by enacting additional earned income taxes and certain other taxes early in the program. And then those funds are used to give each eligible homestead, farmstead property an equal reduction on their assessed value. So whether your home is assessed at 5 million or 50,000, you will get that assessed value reduced in the coming year here by $11,865. And then your taxes will be calculated. That amounts to it will amount to, for the 23-24 year, a $215.57 reduction in the tax bills that go out on July 1st to all qualified homestead property owners. The homestead property eligibility is monitored and managed by the assessment office by law. They are the ones that manage that, and the district is required each December to send out to anybody who has a residential home but has not applied for and been approved or denied. We're required to send them a notice that, hey, you may be eligible for this each December. So that is
That was good.
two
That was-
thumbnail
that was-
sketch. Two thumbnail sketch.
If my memory serves me well, I think this has started during the end of the Rendell administration, so it's been a few years.
Yes, it has been a few. I don't remember the exact year, but yes.
But yeah, so people should see $215 taken off of their tax bill, and for the most part, you don't have to do anything, it'll just come on the bill.
It's already calculated in there. They will see their assessed value. They'll see the $11,865 reduction, a recalculated assessed value that then the millage is applied to.
Okay, thank you.
The next item that you will see is we have another tax assessment appeal settlement and stipulation for your approval that came from our special counsel for assessment appeals. And again, this one, like the other 5 that we looked at, this is also a taxpayer-initiated assessment appeal that we're looking to get a settlement with. We have some lease agreements. We're looking at the lease for our technology equipment. Rob Anderson's with us here tonight, if there are any questions that go beyond that. He has looked at TD Bank for lease dollar values, Apple Direct, because they are providing some of it for lease information, and also I think Dell, which is who the other equipment provider is. And the best rates, Apple will provide their equipment at 0 interest. That's a pretty attractive rate. So we are using Apple for that. If Apple provided us the lease for everything, it would be a weighted average of 4.06, which puts all the other at about 5.9%, which is not very good compared to the 4.25 roughly that TD Bank is quoting us for the other two components. Dell was in the 7% range. So the recommendation, there's actually, if you look under the administrative, you'll see a summary. That has to change because just today at about, 4:20, we got an update from TD Bank. Their rates moved 5 basis points for the 5-year and 6 basis points for the 4-year. We knew that that was a possibility. That should stabilize through Friday, which is when the day after you would approve it and we would get back to them and sign the documents. So we're looking at, I think, 4.24 or 3.24 and 3.37. Is that correct? Or it's 4.37 and 4.24 for the 4-year and the 5-year.
Yeah, I see here, 4.37 and
Yes,
4.24.
yes,
So a lower rate for the longer-term financing.
correct, yes.
And these rates do strike me as being higher than ones that we may have seen several years ago.
Previous.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Could
Go ahead.
Rob
Yes.
Anderson just speak to kind of what the equipment is? Maybe go up to the podium and just talk about all the equipment for staff and students and anything else?
Good evening. So a bulk of it is our Chromebooks for our 2nd, 6th, and 9th grade students. That's a large majority of the equipment that's included in that lease. There's some staff computers for the, I believe it's the staff at Chatham Park, part of the middle school and part of the high school. So similar to what JR was speaking to earlier, we have kind of a cycle that we go through to refresh staff computers. And they're back up on that refresh cycle at this time. There's some departments within Oakmont that are up for refreshing this year. And then there's the 5-year lease is for all of our data center equipment. So it's all the servers that run everything behind the scenes in the district. This is our 3rd 5-year lease that we do on those. We just refresh it every 5 years. It runs 24/7, 365 within the district. So we got our money's worth out of that equipment. I believe that's all of the equipment that's included in there.
And then I saw the leases have each of the different vendors seem to have for $1 buyout at the end. Can you just explain what that
Yep.
opportunity is, and do we tend to hold on to the equipment longer than the leases?
Yeah, so the TD lease has a $1 buy at the end. I think both of them have a $1 buy at the end. What that means is we'll pay $1 per piece of equipment, and then the district owns it, and we can choose to do with it as we please. So we can either continue to keep it in circulation if it still has some life left in it. Additionally, we can also look to recycle it ourselves. So buy it for $1, sell it to a recycler for $100, and then that's money we can put back into the district. One thing that is new this year with the Apple lease is there's a guaranteed buyback on the end of that. So at the end of the lease, they've guaranteed us how much they're going to pay us if they take the equipment back at the end of the lease, which is not something we've had in the past with any of our leases. So that's something we would look at the time, and then we would choose whether we thought we could do better than whatever Apple's offering us at that time.
All right, any other questions? Thank you.
The next item is also Rob's, and that is a renewal of the 5-year agreement with Final Site, who provides the district's webpage services. After that, we have a change order on Haverford High School for SB Conrad for additional engineering and survey work. We're talking, I think the total was $2,140 in that range. And this is something that Ken Matthews is recommending. He was unable to be here with us. He was going to send Randon to give us a whole presentation on this, and we said,
Got it.
it's raining, take the night off. So,
Yeah, it says here that the change is for additional surveying required by the engineer to close out the NPDES permit. So it seems like a necessary.
necessary evil, yes. And then the last item is an addendum to the designated persons contract with Environmental Control Systems, Inc. for periodic AHERA inspections and employee training through June 30th of 2026. This is our asbestos inspection contractor. I do not know the extent to which there might be any asbestos remaining in our buildings, but this is required by AHIRA, and it has to be done, and the training is to train our employees that should, in the course of their work, the maintenance work, they run into something that is asbestos, how to handle that, what to do, and how not to make the situation worse. So this is a continuation of that contract. This is an addendum to the 2021 contract, and this one, as I said, goes for 3 years through June 30th of 2026. Any comment, JR?
We also use environmental for, like, we haven't used them last week. But with the smoke from Canada, they put out a recommendation for us to shut all the outside air dampers, recirculate the interior air with the air pistol. So we use them for everything, asbestos.
Long working relationship, yes.
Right, not a one-off kind of
No.
thing, they're
No.
involved.
It's not an environmental situation we have to use that.
And these inspections are required by law. Every school district has to go through them. Every public facility has to go through them.
They also do our MSDS sheets for our chemicals in the building. They do the high school science department too. Chemicals they bring in for the science department. So we use them a lot.
And that's all that we have. Are there any questions, anything that board members would like us to follow up on? Besides the solar.
Right, that's still in the works.
I'm more to say with that, I'm sure, at some point, but yeah.
Okay.
Well, hearing nothing from the board, that we do have time on the agenda for public comment, if anybody would like to. Okay, thanks, just come say your name and confirm your residency in the township.
So 3-minute time for tonight.
We're a little looser with that at committee.
Okay, I won't talk as fast then. So my name's Mary Ann Butera. I live in Haverford Township. I see another tax assessment appeals resolution on the agenda for Thursday, but yet again, this doesn't apply to us, despite multiple attempts from my attorney to try to settle with the district on fair terms. With that said, almost 4 years ago, my husband and I purchased what we thought was our dream home. As a small business owner and a public school educator, we worked hard and saved for years so we could achieve our goal of owning a single home. And then, about a year later, Haverford School Board and School District turned our dream into a nightmare when you decided, without any regard for data or the law, to target only certain recent sale properties that met an arbitrary criteria. As you know, the township, who initially was party to these appeals, withdrew after they reviewed the data and applied the law. However, you continued your discriminatory and unlawful pursuit against us. Here are some facts that you've already been informed of, but have thus far disregarded. Number 1, for all properties sold between January 1st, 2017 and June 30th, 2022, while the county's common level ratio was still 1, the school district appealed the reassessment values of only 35 of 334 properties which met the school district's first appeal criteria. 35 of 334. This is a glaring procedural violation of uniformity. The school district, number 2, the school district has settled with property owners on terms that violate your own criteria, your own established criteria. For example, our neighbors purchased their home in 2018 for $735,000. Their Tyler assessment was one of a few whose reassessments was close to their fair market value. However, their assessment was not uniform with a high percentage of similar properties of the same nature in our neighborhood. And so you offered them a reduced assessment of $425,000. That's $310,000 under their sale price. At your May 11th school board meeting, you settled with a recent 2018 sale, purchased for $3.5 million. Your settlement was $2,226,800, which is $1.2 million under their 2018 sale price, and over $760,000 below their 2003 sale price. Moreover, as another example of the unfair, disparate, and inequitable treatment we have endured is the lack of attention you have paid to some of your own assessments. Ms. Snodgrass is $156,000 underassessed from her 2020 sale price. Mr. Dodds, your attorney who is not present tonight, his Tyler assessment came in at $566,910, which is almost $100,000 under his 2012 sale price. 2012. Considering property value in Delaware County has only increased since 2014, I'm sure you're aware that Mr. Dodds is at least $200,000 underassessed. Ms. Larson and Mr. Schwartz-Tyler reassessments are less than their 2012 and 2010 sale prices. Is this not some sort of conflict of interest? Why haven't you appealed your own assessments? Why target us? Why continue to do so? You took no care to complete any sort of statistical or uniformity analysis and instead blindly followed an attorney and an appraiser who either intentionally or negligently disregarded available data and the law. Uniformity is a fundamental principle written into the constitutions and statutes of almost every state in this country. In Pennsylvania, the framers of the Constitution embodied this principle in terms so plain that no one should misunderstand its meaning or doubt its application. This precept is based upon the general principle that taxpayers should pay no more or less than their proportionate share of government. We are paying far more than our proportionate share now. Far more. It's not affordable. It's not sustainable. It wasn't within our budget. You are driving people out of their homes. The school district undermined the reassessment which established uniformity. It is not enough for the school district to just claim that a limited number of sale prices are evident of a defect. You neither complied with the law nor complied with your own set criteria, your own approved policies, thus violating our rights under the Equal Protection Clause of the United States Constitution and the Uniformity Clause of the Pennsylvania Constitution. And of course, please keep in mind that the county reassessment is revenue neutral by the assessment law, and therefore you've not gained any additional revenue from targeting us. Nothing, $0. And rather, you've been fiscally irresponsible with taxpayer dollars. We are once again asking you to reconsider your position, do the right thing, just like the township did at the beginning when we presented this. This is going on 3 years now. What is your end game?
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Seeing none and nothing else from the board, the business of this meeting is concluded and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.